Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and marketing expert covering the new woke Disney film that canceled all its advanced reviews and is now projected to be a total failure. Let's get into the story. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, I really appreciate you guys. This is Disney's new movie called The Marvels. Coming from comicbookmovie.com, the Marvel social media and review embargo lives very close to the release date, which means you're not going to be able to see a lot about this movie on social media or in any kind of advanced reviews because they're not allowing reviewers to talk about it. Well, why wouldn't they want people to talk about it? It may have something to do with this. From the direct, first Captain Marvel 2 box office projections are abysmal. And not just that, The Marvels suffers worst MCU ticket pre-sales in 4+ years. Disney spent more than $270 million making this movie. We know this report from Forbes is accurate because Disney produced this film overseas. They get a little bit of a tax rebate from the United Kingdom, could be quite actually a lot of money from the United Kingdom. But this $270 million isn't even the total cost of the finished film. In addition to that, they need to do post-production, and then they're going to spend anywhere from another $100 to $150 million or more promoting it. Also from Forbes, Marvel should brace for poor The Marvels performance, even if it's good. This article goes on to talk about how, look, Marvel needs to get ready and Disney should expect this could be a gigantic failure, and not because it's woke, of course. They specifically say that. Not because it's woke. This movie should have done well. The reason why this movie is not going to do well, whether it's good or it's not good, it's not going to be any good, is because they were trying to push an agenda. This is a sequel to Captain Marvel that came out in 2019. Now go ahead and look at the numbers. $1.131 billion. That's a lot of money worldwide. No, of course, they don't keep all of that money from the box office. They have to pay for all kinds of costs. They have to share money with the movie theaters. But then again, they do sell it on multiple platforms after that as well. They did just fine on Captain Marvel. What's the problem with the sequel? Well, Captain Marvel is not a real standalone successful movie. Captain Marvel was presented as part of the really successful, legitimately successful Avengers franchise. Avengers Infinity War came out April 27th, 2018. Then 1 year later, March 8th, 2019, they've got Captain Marvel. That was considered like a prequel to Avengers Endgame, which Avengers Endgame was an incredibly successful movie, Marvel's biggest movie. $2.799 billion. That is a number that none of the other Marvel films have done. So by associating Captain Marvel so closely with the Avengers, they were able to get people who are completists and who are interested in the Marvel brand to say, okay, well, we'll go check out Captain Marvel so we know what the whole story is. And it's fine that they did that, except that Captain Marvel was a movie that really no one actually wanted. The reason Captain Marvel was done was because Marvel decided they needed to focus on doing female superheroes because it wasn't okay to just have a brand that focused on male superheroes, because why should Marvel be making movie projects for boys or males? Why not have representation? Well, here's why you don't have representation. Because Disney bought Marvel in September of 2009. Why did they buy Marvel in the first place? It's right here from this article in Publishers Weekly. Together, meaning Disney and Marvel, Marvel's characters will fill Disney's perpetual gap in boys' entertainment. Disney attracts girls in droves, and they're already a staple on the boy-centric Disney XD cable channel. That was the whole purpose of buying Marvel. So why 10 years later did they have to make a female superhero movie? Well, Wonder Woman was very successful. Wonder Woman was not sandwiched between two other very successful brands. Wonder Woman really stood on its own, and it was a good movie. It did $823 million worldwide. That was from DC's Warner Brothers Studios. Wonder Woman was a franchise built up over decades, and it was successfully received. Captain Marvel had appeared in comic books before, but it was never a hit in its own right. It was never successful in its own right in print. When you're in publishing, you learn, hey, there are things people just like and love. There are things people will just sort of take some interest in, and there are things that people are not interested in. In publishing, Martin Goodman, the guy who was responsible for Marvel Comics, who owned the company that Stan Lee worked for, got into producing superheroes with Marvel because that's what was selling in the marketplace. That's why there was a Marvel Comics. Not because Martin Goodman loved superheroes or even because Stan Lee loved superheroes, because that's what was selling. And you don't have a choice when you produce things. You must respect the market. What people want, you have to provide. You can provide whatever you want as a vanity project, but you can't do things, whether it's for the best purposes in the world or it's a long-time passion you've had. Yes, be passionate about what you do, but if people don't like it, it's going to wind up being a bomb. The CEO of Marvel, Ike Perlmutter, who actually sold Marvel to Disney, was trying to explain this to Marvel, to say, listen, Bob Iger, listen, Kevin Feige, you can't just make any movie you want because it would be nice to have women who are superheroes. It's got to be consistent with the Marvel brand. Bob Iger promised when he bought Marvel, he promised Ike Perlmutter he would let Ike Perlmutter stay in charge of the Marvel brand. He took that away because, as Bob Iger says, quote, we had a chance to make a great movie. The Marvel CEO nearly succeeded in stopping Brie Larson's Marvel debut. This is really what took Marvel completely off track, and Marvel has never been the same since. Ike Perlmutter has since been fired out of Marvel. This is from Fortune. Billionaire ex-head of Marvel Entertainment says he was fired for complaining its films were too expensive. All they talk about is box office, box office. All they're concerned about is revenue. Ike Perlmutter was very cautious to maintain the quality of the brand, to maintain something that when you went to go consume a Marvel product, it would be what you expected. Ike Perlmutter said, look, don't make a female superhero because no one's going to want to buy those toys. And he was right. The Captain Marvel toys did not sell. Ultimately, all Ike Perlmutter got for it was fired out of the company that he saved. Ike Perlmutter didn't start Marvel, but he did save Marvel when they were in bankruptcy. He protected the company, and he was responsible, working with David Mizell, for launching their own film division, which then became the Marvel Cinematic Universe. From the direct first Captain Marvel 2 box office projections are abysmal. Some fans are worried after some abysmal box office projections were released for the Marvels. After an up and down year for Disney, at the ticket window, the Hollywood giant is hoping to strike it big with Captain Marvel 2. Brie Larson's first Captain Marvel film was a certified box office hit, earning over $1.1 billion worldwide, making it the first female-led superhero movie to cross the $1 billion mark. Can't say it didn't bring in $1 billion, it did, but, it really was like an Avengers movie, and it didn't bring in as much as the Avengers movie before it, or anywhere near the amount of money of the Avengers movie after it. So was it really a success or not? I mean, yeah, they made some money, but they really upset a lot of people, and they permanently damaged the Marvel Cinematic Universe brand. According to reports, The Marvels is one of the MCU's most expensive movies ever, so the road to profitability will be harder than it was for the 2019 original. New reporting from experts revealed what could be an abysmal box office run for the upcoming Captain Marvel 2, also known as The Marvels. According to Box Office Pros, The Marvels is projected to earn between $50 to $75 million domestically over its opening weekend, and between $121 million and $189 million in total domestically. This is a far cry from the first Captain Marvel film, which was estimated to make over $100 million in its opening weekend domestically, with some experts offering even more enthusiastic projections of upward of $120 million. Captain Marvel famously outdid these estimates, making more than $150 million in its opening weekend. This $50 to $75 million figure is roughly half of what was estimated for Warner Bros.' The Flash, which after middling box office projections would go on to become one of the biggest financial failures in studio history. Compared to some of other Marvel Studios' other recent films, The Marvels projection does not look good. Should The Marvels hit the low end of its opening projections, it would become the new record holder for the MCU's lowest domestic opening weekend, taking the unenviable spot from the 2008 The Incredible Hulk, which opened to $55 million in the US during the franchise's birth year. But also keep in mind, The Incredible Hulk was no doubt made on a much, much smaller budget. We may never know how much money they fully spent to produce and promote the Marvel. The MCU's other 2023 films, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, were projected to earn $120 million and $96 million in the domestic opening weekends, respectively. The high points of these recent projections came with 2022's Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, projected to earn $180 million in its opening, and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness at $165 million. For context, here are some recent MCU opening weekends to compare these projections. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, $118 million. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, $104 million. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, $181 million. Thor Love and Thunder, $144 million. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, $187 million. How will the Marvels really do at the box office? While these numbers are simply projections, things are not looking good for the Marvels. Given the success of the first film, some experts have predicted the film could earn as much as $750 million at the worldwide box office, an achievement in this post-pandemic era. But that $1 billion performance of Captain Marvel could have had more to do with where and when it came out, being right between the Avengers Infinity War and Endgame than it did the actual film itself. If this prediction for the movie does not come to pass, even getting over $300 million will be a Herculean task. A huge factor in the Marvel's long-term success will be if it pans out critically. Strong word of mouth is what makes box office juggernauts these days. Let's take a look at what people are saying on Reddit box office. This is not an anti-Marvel website. It's not an anti-Marvel group. It's just people talking about the subject. Bainstar66 says, I'm not saying I know this movie will be bad, but I am saying if this movie is actually good, Disney has handled it in the worst possible way at every juncture. So more likely it isn't great. Blue Blur replies, this is the best way I could describe it. It's been the punching bag for the MCU this year well before the first teaser was even released. And even since Phase 5 has continued to churn out multiple mixed to bad projects like Phase 4 did, the confidence ceiling for the Marvel success is not looking good right now. If pre-sale numbers don't rise significantly in the next 2 weeks, I don't see how this will make $600 million even with great reviews. The day before it comes out, gee, I wonder if Marvel Studios is expecting good reception for this film. Alex Hunter Wolf says, this might go down as the worst year for the comic book movie genre since 1997. The review embargo is about a day or two behind the usual MCU fare, so that's not concerning. The social media embargo is concerning though. They usually drop those a week or more on advance to written reviews. Either they have no confidence in this, or they do and they're still running gun shy on reviews because of the Indiana Jones Elemental whammy earlier this year. Either way, this doesn't help them at all perception-wise. Day before first showings for review embargo? That is very questionable. FD Cancel says, not a good sign. Seems like they don't trust the movie at all. Lolly Froll says, definitely indicates Disney doesn't see reviews as helping ticket sales. They dropped the day before Thursday previews, which considering how its pre-sales look is not good. Jawman says it's really doing bad in pre-sales, going at 25% of Quantumania, and Disney wants to wait until the 7th. This is looking dead on arrival. Diehard says, how are the pre-sales looking now? Edited Update says, oh Jesus, it's worse than I thought. Box Office Stat says, the first showing start at 3 p.m. on November 9th? This is very concerning. Nicolash says, the internet is going to be real insufferable in 2 weeks' time. Disney deserves the heckling. They're a bloated, complacent industry giant, and this product will be representative of how soulless they are. Another says Disney earned this. Joseph1 says, and people are going to blame female-led movies, wokeness, and Brie Larson, and Teyona and Iman for some reason, instead of actual problems like not very good movies and oversaturation. Like it's a woman's problem instead of a studio problem. Not looking forward to that. Not a woman problem. It's not a studio problem. It's a story problem. And if people aren't interested in the character, they're not going to go see the movie. If the movie isn't on brand, they're not going to be interested in seeing the movie. If you make a decent Marvel movie that fits with what the brand is for Marvel, what fans want from Marvel, of course people are going to go see it. But not this mess. Frosty Dust 1064 says, Marvel knows that critics aren't on their side as much as they used to be. And finally, from Mr. Connor212, oh no, honestly, I'm all MCU'd out at the moment. LOL. There is nothing wrong with creating female superheroes. There's nothing wrong with creating male superheroes. However, whatever your superhero brand is, whatever your brand is, you have to stay consistent with that. There are males in Barbie's world. Ken exists in Barbie's world, but he's like a Barbie-ish Ken. You know, he fits that Barbie universe. Whatever they did with Captain Marvel, they did it wrong. And the great thing about the fan base is when you do something wrong, and anytime you make things, your customers will eventually give you feedback that you don't like, whatever you're making. The real advantage that Marvel had was they could just listen to their fans. Their fans don't mind if they make a mistake. They do mind if they don't correct that mistake, and if they are arrogant and egotistical about that mistake. This movie, Captain Marvel 2, The Marvels, shouldn't exist. The fans told Marvel they don't want this movie. Ike Perlmutter, the CEO of Marvel, who brought the company into Disney that made the MCU possible, said he didn't want this movie. The Disney people abused their power and forced this movie out into the market. And now we will see a total failure when this movie is released. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.